Hey guys, you never thought you'd see this face again, right? Well, we're back. You might notice a few changes, the most obvious being that I'm the only host for the future going forward. I just want to clarify this in the beginning that me and Iffad, we had this extensive conversation, and this was this decision that just came about. He will definitely return. Don't worry about that. As a guest, I definitely do want to bring him on as a guest for so many more episodes. We're still friends. We're still really good buddies. So I just want to make sure that none of you are worried. None of you are like in the comments, oh, Shaquille and Iffad broke up. Oh, they had beef. With the theories and whatnot. Actually, we're not even that big enough to really get controversy like that. But just in case, if I do see any of that, I just want to let you know that I'm definitely gonna delete those comments. So there's that. We'll put out some sort of statement on our social media about all this, explaining some things, or we might just make a video, or we might just talk about it on a future interview or a future conversation. Be on the lookout for that if you want to know more. This episode isn't really having to do with any of that. I just wanted to give a little PSA or give a little heads up, if you will, right before this episode. So, yeah, hope you guys still enjoy, still stay tuned, and here's to the future of the Shaded Youth. Okay, everything's good, everything's live, camera's on, okay. So today I have one of my BFFs from high school. The spontaneous, the amazing, the fascinating, the interesting Helal Chowdhury. Goes by many names, many identities. Because fun fact, he's actually not American. He's American now, but he was born in the UK. Or you were born in Bangladesh, right?
Born in Bangladesh, yep.
He was born in Bangladesh. He was raised for some of his childhood in the UK, and then he moved here. And we'll dive into some of that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how are you doing?
Not bad. Just came off of work. We have a long weekend today, so after this, I'm gonna be chilling. Probably gonna go out for the first time this weekend in a long time. Yeah.
You're playing football?
Yeah, probably tomorrow. And let's see, a few cousins are coming over this weekend too. So it's gonna be a fun time.
I mean, it sounds like you have a fun weekend plan. I start work again, so that's not gonna be fun.
Man.
But honestly, I'm kind of looking forward because I do definitely want to go back into like stuff related to my career. So that's gonna be okay.
I mean, the first time you go out in like a long time, it's probably a better feeling. I don't know about you. I kind of missed outside for a while.
Yeah, no, definitely, you're right. I mean, I missed the trains. Not gonna lie.
But
Yeah.
they're like very sporadic right now, though. So trying to take it now is gonna be a pain.
Yeah. Yeah. So besides that, let's talk about you for a long time, because that's pretty much what this episode is centered around, you and who you are as a person, right?
Oh man, that's a big one.
So, just give a quick recap of like your journey, I guess, right? And give like a summary of, so the people at home know who you are.
I mean, journey to what though? There's so many different aspects of my and honestly anyone's life. Like there's like my religious journey and then like my journey as like a person, I guess, how I came to get like my values that I do. But then there's also like my like academic and career journey.
Just give like a quick like recap, pretty much.
I mean, okay, just like background wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, as we mentioned, I was born in Bangladesh. After around 2 or 3 years old, that's when I left. And since then, we've been living in London, England, for about 8 years or so. And yeah, then I came to America and I've been here ever since. Actually, what's an interesting point though, I actually came to America first in the third grade and I stayed for a little while and actually went back after that and stayed for like another year in England. And I came back in the fifth grade, I think. And since fifth grade until now, I've been here since.
Okay.
And yeah, so pretty much middle school, high school, and now college I spent here.
Gotcha. Why'd you leave the first time? Like, why'd you come here, do like a year of school, and then go back?
So honestly, I mean, the reason why we came here both times was the same. My grandma was very sick at the time, and she used to live here. And yeah, at the time, my dad, he was like the eldest son, and he had to try to find a way to take care of her, just being there as well. So that's why we kind of moved. But then when things start to settle down, we're still trying to figure out the situation, and obviously, all of us kids, we wanted to go back to England. So for a while we went back, but when the situation got worse with my grandma, we kind of came back, and then we just settled down since then. We didn't really plan on moving back.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That I mean, after a while, you kind of just get used to New York and like the U.S.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, you might as well just stay.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah. So I remember when we first met, you definitely had more of an accent, right? Because you just came, or it was like a few years after you moved here.
yeah. Honestly, even when I was in high school, when I started high school, I've still been in America for a while. That's why even then it wasn't that strong. But obviously, as time went by, and
Yeah,
also throughout middle school, I didn't really talk to people that much. I wasn't hanging out around with people, so I didn't really understand the culture too much then, nor did I have like a friend group. So it wasn't until like in high school that's when I started to like socialize and like be a part of like groups, and that's when I'd say yeah, that's when I exactly assimilated into like American culture, if you want to call it that.
yeah. I mean, out of the people we know, I definitely say that you're one of the more social people. Like you can just talk to anyone,
Honestly, I'm
like
on and
for no
off.
reason.
I feel like I wouldn't say I always am. Sometimes I have my moments where I just want to be alone.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm talking more of like let's say you're in an event or like a convention and you just see like a random group of like people you don't know. Like, you'll probably be the first person to always go up and like just start a random conversation.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Like when we go to events and like MSA and like stuff like that, that's when like I like shift my mindset to be in that
Yeah,
social like networking um mindset. So yeah, in that point I'll socialize, but like I wouldn't say I'm like that at a constant state. Definitely not.
where do you think where do you think that comes from? Like
Hmm.
you want to talk to people at these kind of settings because it's very easy to just like hang out with like two to three people that you know. And it definitely took me a while to like get used to actively going out and like talking to new people. But I mean,
Hmm.
I got used to it. But it seemed
Yeah.
like you were just there from the get go. Like what went into your mind to say, okay, it's probably better for my own personal development if I like go get out of my
Mm,
comfort zone here.
I mean, honestly, that's not so true. That I wasn't always like that from the get go. I feel like for some people you may seem like that just because I think it was something that I was trying for, and even though I wasn't like that, I tried to make myself feel like that, so I can like internalize it in my head. And once you start to believe it yourself, then you start to be more social. When did I start transitioning? Like I said, middle school, I don't think I was. Maybe around eighth gradish, I started to become a little bit more social, but that wasn't like social as in like meet random people. It was more just the people around me that I've already known for a few years that I never talked to. I started to get more comfortable with them. In terms of actually socializing and just getting out there and introducing yourself, honestly, I think that was like in my first year of high school. That's when I realized, like, man, I should like really get out there. I should try to be more social, try to get to know people. And of course, you know this too. Like going to tech, where there's so many people, there's a lot of different things going on. I think you just want to feel like you belong somewhere. So I think that kind of pushed you to try to find your place and to try to like talk to people, meet people, to figure out where you are. So I think,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I
So I
mean, just
think,
a little
yeah,
background. Me and Hilo went to the same high school,
yeah,
Brooklyn Tech, located in Fort
Brooklyn,
Greene, New York. It was a huge high school, over 5,000 people. I believe it's 6,000 right now.
yeah.
And yeah, there's like literally you can think of any identity, um, any way to like live or any lifestyle, and you'll find like a group of people there that fit that category.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Um, I have a funny story of how me and Hilal met pretty much. So I was
Oh,
do
but
you
expose
remember what
yourself
I'm
right
do you know
now.
what I'm gonna say?
Yeah, the picture.
No, not the picture.
Which
Oh
one?
no no no
There
no.
was a
Okay, so
picture.
that's a different story. But okay, I think you forgot this then.
What
So
was
the very first time I met you was in my first month. in high school, right? When I was 14, I'm 19 now. You're 21
One,
ish.
yeah.
Yeah, 21 ish. I'm gonna turn 20 a couple of months. So we met each other like basically 6 years ago, and it was like the very first month of high school. I remember that we were on our way to Jum'ah after school, the Friday prayer.
Mm.
After school lets out, the MSA, the Muslim Student
Oh
Association,
yeah.
they do Friday prayer in the park a lot of the time when it's sunny out and it's nice out. So at the time, I didn't know anyone, right? So I just went with like the group that was there waiting outside the room, and then we were walking towards the park, and like a bunch of people were already there, right? And you were one of them. You were supposed to lead the khutbah, right, the lecture
Mm.
for that day. So I remember just walking in to this huge circle of people, right? and there was and there was like there was just you like standing up, and I forget who it was, but someone just like, oh, Hilal, say Harry Potter, say Harry Potter for us. That
Oh man, yeah, I remember that. I remember that. What's actually funny about that
was
story
so
though,
funny.
I actually wasn't even supposed to give the khutbah that day. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but like that whole year was like a mess because like nothing was organized, and I only joined the board like first at that time, so I wasn't even accustomed to everything. But like every week, no one would know who'd do the khutbah, so I'd pull up, and I'm like, yo, so who's doing the khutbah? And I'm looking around at like trying to find the seniors, but no one's there. So eventually, like I just had to be like, all right, I gotta come up with something on the spot.
And
Um,
you did a lot of them on your field of expertise, which is which is
it's like the
which
Day of
is
Judgment.
Dajjal, Yajuj Majuj, End of Times, Day of Judgment,
Yeah,
all the really like depressing end of times,
yeah, I
kind of
went through
vibe.
such a phase, man. I feel like I still go through those phases.
I mean, that's what you're most interested in. Like, bro,
Yeah.
you have like a new Jin story every other week.
I think that's how I think a lot of people like come into Islam kind of, or try to get more
Right,
interested.
yeah.
No one starts getting interested off the bat about like, oh, we got to pray 5 times a day. Oh, it's amazing. Of course, as you grow, alhamdulillah, you realize the beauty of it. But starting off, you hear these stories about like, angels and demons and like wars and stuff. And
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like once you start getting into that, then that's when it's like the first step into Islam. And then you learn the more important stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. Another funny story, I just remember this. Do you remember the Jummah khutbah that you did for Halloween that year?
Oh my God. No, let's not talk about let's not bring this up. I
I
don't even
mean,
want to bring that up.
it was in the past,
Oh,
bro.
man.
But
Oh,
basically,
but,
he did a khutbah on black magic, right? Because that's a
oh
very
man.
it's a very unspoken taboo topic that a lot of people are afraid of, and it's something that information wise should be more out there so people can protect themselves, know better. Guess how he was dressed as a magician? Wait, no, it was a vampire magician.
It was like both, honestly, man. That was like back in the day, man.
That was in your
Oh,
Jahiliyyah times, your ignorant
definitely,
times.
definitely.
All right, man. All right,
But
just moving on
yeah,
from that, I guess. Uh, so at this point, you're pretty much like American, right? Like it's not
yeah,
a shadow of a doubt that you're more American than British at this point. Is that safe to
yeah,
say?
yeah.
Yeah,
Honestly, in both like living here and also like culture-wise, like 'cause you have to also realize like while I was in England, I was still a kid. Like meaning a kid, meaning like from like first grade to like fourth, fourth or fifth grade. So you rarely remember much, nor do you keep much of that culture when you're that small. So most of my like not adult, like youth years was here. So this is kind of what made me as a person. I don't think I really, um, nothing in England really impacted much that stuck with me still at now.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Um, so going off of your whole upbringing, right? There's a bunch of things um that make you you at this point, right? Because
Mm,
you love to like collaborate with different organizations.
yeah.
You saying you also are a computer science geek, so there's that, right? But going off the creative aspect of what makes your identity, right? The singing, the nasheed, How did you first get into that, or what even sparked that interest for you?
Okay, so like the whole performance side, I think honestly, in terms of singing at least, before I used to sing, I actually used to like recite Quran. What that means is obviously everyone needs to recite Quran, but meaning I started to grow a love for like listening to just like nice qirats, you know? Like
Right.
my earliest memories of when I was in England, I was very small. Like my dad used to take me to Tarawih, and this guy used to have beautiful recitation, and I used to fall asleep immediately listening to it. And like just since then, I had this like picture, like I always wanted to recite like that in a way where like people would fall asleep listening. And so when I started
Also, been a
reciting,
good way.
in a good way, definitely a good way, yeah, not being bored, yeah. But yeah, so when I like came to America, like I remember just listening to someone. I think that was a transition phase when I was trying to give up music, like listening to music, and so I just listened to Qur'an, and it was really nice. And then I just started to like feel myself pick it up, and then since then, you guys know like the way I like recite or sing isn't
Yeah, it's
my actual
pretty
voice.
similar. Yeah.
Like they're similar, but meaning like to my actual voice,
Hmm.
how I'm speaking sound like that. So I try to I try to basically emulate how I used to would recite to my singing, and yeah, that just kind of happened. Honestly, I think I first started singing, not like writing songs or anything, nothing like that, just more as a hobby in like eighth grade maybe. Like I said, around the time when I was giving up listening to music, that's when I
Yeah.
started singing, which is very weird. It's a very weird concept, but yeah, that's kind of
Gotcha.
how.
And of course, that led you into the journey of trying out like nasheeds, writing your own songs, joining an a cappella group in high school.
Honestly, that performance aspect of it was more towards like seeing other people that I used to look up to do it, and I was like, man, like
Gotcha.
I want to be able to do that too.
Right.
Like, I mean, yeah, of course, you remember like your freshman year, Malik was performing like all throughout, and yeah, so definitely as an underclassman going in and like seeing other seniors like do things, you also want to be like, maybe I can do it too, and that's kind of where it picked up from.
Yeah, for sure. And I might like put in a clip just segueing into like one of those.
Is it
So
the throat clip?
uh,
No.
that's iconic, man. I don't know. You want to show off a little bit about that?
I'm not gonna do that. Nope.
Okay.
I'm
Basically,
gonna
he
like
has
run in the
a
room.
basically he'll also beatbox, and yeah, he has a thing where he just randomly keeps tapping his throat and makes a little like robotic noise with it. It's pretty funny to watch, but yeah, it definitely it's a good little gimmick to put into performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that's definitely really interesting to hear about because um I've never really got into singing or anything like that, right? But reciting Quran,
Mm,
um, like that's something that I guess Muslims in general have a real love for,
yeah.
and that's the beauty aspect um, of Islam's and Muslim culture in general, I guess. And I get yeah the whole thing about recite Quran for the meaning, right? Not for the tone of it.
Yeah.
That's definitely important as well. But I do feel that just the beauty of it
Hmm.
is something unique to us,
Yeah.
something unique to our scripture. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he does like it when we try to beautify recitation,
Yeah.
for His
Definitely.
sake, obviously, not for trying to show off to the crowd or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the Quran. Like, of course, the heart of the Quran is like the meaning and like how it makes you feel, like and things like that. And but the part of the Quran, as you mentioned, was also the qiraat of it, like
Hmm.
seeing, like reciting with a nice melody, making something that's soothing that people would want to listen to. Like that is part of the beauty of the Quran. That's so no, inshallah, of course that's also good with that being emphasized. But then the issue comes if that's your sole reason for doing it and you don't really care about the meaning and you're just doing it for just to make it sound nice for the sake of it. But I think it is a very good way to introduce people to the Quran and Islam, and especially like Muslims who aren't super into it. I think, like I said, for me, that was something, just the beauty of it, like
Yeah.
listening to it. Like I said, initially it was just a replacement for music. Like I wasn't listening so I can like understand Quran and like get closer to it, which after I started listening to it, for the sake of it sounding nice, that's when you start, you know, getting that curiosity. Like I want to understand more. I want to learn what I'm actually reciting. So baby steps. You're not always going to start off with the perfect reasons and 100% good intentions. But inshallah, you just take that first step, and it'll get there over time.
Yeah, no doubt. That's that reminded me of a podcast I was watching, not a Muslim podcast, but it was with do you know the comedian Jeremy McLellan, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's very popular amongst Muslim circles because a lot of his stuff is on like Islamic culture in America, and he performs at a lot of like these Muslim conventions and things like that. He was on a podcast um with a priest or a pastor or some sort of a Christian religious leader, right? He has a YouTube channel, and he does podcasts, and he had Jeremy McLellan on because he's a very prominent Christian comedian, and his material is very clean and religiously oriented, right? So um, pretty much what happened was he was talking about how he grew closer to his faith, and he was bringing up stories about his friends that also grew closer to their faith.
Yeah.
And um, he brought up a story of one of his friends that converted to Islam, and he said that the only reason he did it at first was because he really liked the sound of the adhan,
Yeah.
and when he was in Turkey, and then that caused him to look closer, and so that just that sprouted that curiosity and that that interest into pursuing
Yeah.
more knowledge about this faith and this religion of theirs.
Yeah, subhanAllah. I mean, that's why, something about Islam is like, it's not just, oh, you got to like understand, like read the meaning and things like that. There's also a sense of like outward beauty to it too.
Yeah.
Like external and internal are both important. And I think, a lot of the times, well, sometimes there's both extremes. But like a lot of the times I know in like madrasa and stuff like that, you'd only hear the internal portion of it. You gotta, make sure you understand the Quran. You make sure your hafiz, like memorize this much by the end of this day, read this much. But there's also the idea of like, can you recite it with proper tajweed to make it sound nice, in terms of how you dress, like you dress nicely, like is it something that's presentable? It's like, that's why Islam encompasses everything, honestly. And inshallah, that's something we can embody all around and not just one aspect.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when people get too caught up in like, okay, I got to learn the meaning, I got to learn the exact translation of this, I got to learn the intricacies of the rulings for this and that.
Yeah.
I think it definitely turns a lot of people away from taking that first step in the first place. Because it just seems so scary and like so large of a goal that they're just like, oh, this is so unattainable. Only people that have like special skills and if they have like if they're born with this, right, with the ability to do this, then only they can do it, right? However, we know that's not true. It always starts from one step, right? For any skill, honestly, from things like learning how to code or like learning how to paint or
definitely
learning how to sing, I guess, right? You just start off sounding bad. You start off with maybe one note or like maybe one keystroke here and there. And same thing with Quran, with any ruling for Islam, right? You learn one ruling at a time. You learn how to recite one letter at a time, and then you pick up the rest of it because everything comes in stages, right? You don't look for perfection right off the bat. You look for progress.
Exactly. Yep. It's also sometimes like we also have to look at the flip side. Like once you do get there and you're like at a state where you took the first step and now you're doing your thing, you have to make sure not to settle. That one of my biggest regrets is that alhamdulillah, when I started reciting Quran and I picked up like somewhat of a tajweed, I say regret, but we still have time to do this and it's never too late. But in terms of just trying to memorize more, and like that whole quantity aspect of it and understanding the meaning, like yes, it makes sense if you don't start off with all of that, but I think that's something that I definitely want to get more into now, and I feel like I haven't been spending as much time as I should have on that. So like
I have a similar regret where when I was little I would just be plunged into like memorization, and I would have like multiple teachers just driving home like, okay, memorize like 2 pages in these
Yeah.
2 days, or like memorize a page a day or something like that, right?
Mhm.
And at a certain point, I was just like, what's the point? What's the point of this, right?
Yeah.
I remember in middle school, I specifically like turned to like my classmate during the weekend. I was like, and I was thinking like, none of my other friends are doing this. Like, I'm literally doing this, and like everyone else stopped memorizing when they were like in elementary school. So I'm like thinking this, and I turned to like my classmate who was also there. I'm like, bro, like, what's the point of doing all this? And he had a very simple answer. He, because obviously we didn't really like learn the the whole like esoteric or like the long-winded explanations yet. He simply said, so you can bring you and your family to Jannah. And I was I was like,
Man,
okay,
that's good enough for me.
you're right. But yeah, I mean, I think back on that, I'm like, yeah, that should have been like what I had in mind the whole time. But
Yeah.
obviously, I lost most of like what I memorized from those days, and that's something that I regret being complacent on.
Mm.
Because obviously, as you get older, it becomes harder to retain all of that.
Yeah. For sure.
And yeah,
That actually brings up a good point of what you mentioned about your Islam and your dedication towards it isn't only just on yourself, but sometimes what heavily impacts it are the people around you and the people you surround yourself. Like you mentioned, like when you realize no one else your age is doing this,
yeah,
you start to think like, why am I memorizing Quran? Like I'm the only one doing it. No one else is like that. But then when you just had that one friend who said, gave you a reason, like this is why we're doing it, then honestly, that's all it takes. But for some people, they need even more. So now just like imagine all the people who live their life without really having a group of friends that's like reminding them about Allah, about Islam. Just as time goes on, you're going to feel yourself going further and further away. So, alhamdulillah, that's one thing that I'm grateful for. Honestly, like in America, in high school, that you can meet a group of friends that you feel closer to Allah with. And that's something, inshallah, that will carry on with you for the rest of your life. A lot of people say you never like meet you never keep your friends in high school or whatever. Like, I don't think that's true. I
yeah,
think, inshallah, if you feel a connection and the connection isn't just, we played ball together. If that connection is like, we prayed together, I know that's cheesy as hell, but if that's the connection, that's something that sticks. So, inshallah, that continues on for
yeah,
sure.
definitely. And I think that's a good place to stop for today. I know we didn't really have a structure, but I hope you guys benefited from this discussion. You all touched on a lot of nice points. We discussed a lot of things, but I guess the take home for today is definitely keep trying to better yourself,
Mm-hmm.
in regards to your deen, in regards to your personal development, your spiritual development. Try
Yeah.
to get closer to God. Try to get closer to your faith, and if possible, find people who are doing that alongside with you, because that makes it a hell of a lot easier. And I pray that we can all do that.
I mean,
Thank you, Hilal, for
of course.
joining me today. Inshallah, God willing, we have a ton of more guests coming up. This is
Inshallah.
the revamp of Shaded Youth. So stay tuned, everyone.
Of course. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum, guys.
All right.